Alrighty guys, welcome. I know it's been a while since I have done anything for you guys, put any content up. I am back to post up a little video about the new Ninja updates and some of the things that go along with that, as well as, let's see, just want to talk about the sigil system and basically how you go about doing this stuff. Kind of an idea of where I feel Ninja's at. That being said, I hope everybody's being safe, being careful in this time. I know some places, particularly out maybe in the Middle Eastern area, are not doing so well. So please just make sure I hope everybody's doing well, being safe, and not getting themselves caught up in any of that mess as much as possible. But moving on, before we get into any of this, I just want to give a general idea of how this stuff works. There aren't really any good guides, I would say, that I've seen so far as to how you do this system and what it entails and the different features involved with that. So first and foremost, I guess, let's talk about the sigils and how you get that. Basically, what you need to do is go through the quests that it essentially auto-paths you through. If you're second RB and you have Jang and Chi, you're not going to have a problem with that. It just takes a few minutes. Doesn't take that long. You don't really have to pay to do any of that. It's free. You can get right through that really easily. So that's not really a problem. You'll get all of these gates unlocked. You'll get, a couple of sigils to start you off, and then from there, the question really pops up. The question that I had when I started was, how the heck do you get more sigils? How the heck do you use this stuff? Like, obviously there's skills, but how does everything work? How do you level up? What is sage mode? All that stuff. So, first things first, you definitely need to go to the website, and I'm going to try to put this in the video if I can not fail at editing here. I'll send you the link for this. Look at all of the different skills listed. It literally walks you through the different effects of every single skill, and then the two passives that go along with every single skill, and then as well as all of the bloodline sigils and their passives as well. So take a look at that, and make sure you're getting an idea of essentially the build that you need to be working towards. You do not want to waste arcane essence, which at the time is very difficult to come by, on upgrading sigils that you do not need and you will not be using. So for me personally, now I don't have everything that I want. I'm obviously using the critical strike one for critical strike build. I have the lightning one as well because of the damage. It has pretty solid damage output on that, and then currently using this the base wind skill as well because it has good AoE and it can hit flying targets, which is super useful. So that would be this one right here, sickle wind. That can hit flying targets, so those annoying little assassins that you can't use Archer Bane on, you can now hit them with this. That's super convenient. My personal recommendation for anyone with a build similar to this, obviously, I hope if you're a king, you're not 129 and your stats are better than this, but you're going to be wanting to get the Whirl Sigil for crit, and then I recommend, this isn't a bad one to keep, honestly, if you're not worried about defense. It's good to have just a nice AoE right there and being able to hit flying targets also. And then I recommend, honestly, when I have it, I will use it, but you're going to want Dust Attachment with the Stun passive. So that's going to be the third sigil, support sigil. Essentially, that'll give you a stun chance on your skills, which is super useful, so that's obviously what I'm going for. Your Bloodline, I've read through a lot of them, and honestly, I think this one, and I believe it's called Bone Crusher, which is basically a melee upgrade, are kind of really the only truly useful ones. So you're gonna honestly probably want to get this one or the Bone Crusher, which will give you a bonus on your passive ability for melee. The other ones are kind of weird, but you can take a look at those yourself and see if there's anything in there that interests you. But I kind of went off on a tangent there. So really, your goal is going to be to get sigils to the point where you can fill up your 8 slots. And then from there, your Sage mode level is going to be determined by the level of your sigils, right? So if you have all +3, you're going to be phase 3 Sage, which gives decent stats. Before they made the update that they patched this morning, this is only phase 1. The bonuses were kind of shitty, honestly, if we're being honest. So it's good that they buffed that up a little bit. Getting these +3 when you first get it, and you first open a sigil pack and you get a sigil and you right click to put it into your Ninpo scroll, it'll give you the option to make that +3. If CPs is not something that you're worried about, then you may want to go ahead and do that, just because getting Arcane Essence is definitely a time grind at the moment. I'm sure at some point they'll release plenty of ways to buy the stuff, but at the moment, there's no way to buy Arcane Essence aside from going into something I'll show you here in a little bit. But essentially, your focus is going to want to be on getting the skills that you're going to want to have when you're going through your full build for PvP, and then leveling those up. So for me, this is the Critical Strike skill. So obviously I went ahead and I'm plussing this one first. I'm going to plus the passives for that as well. Eventually when I get the Dust Sigil with all 3, I'll put that back in, and I'll take out probably the Lightning one, honestly, just because this one is useful, and I'm going to want to keep that to be able to hit aerial targets on most circumstances. Obviously you can change this up if you know what your opponent is going to be for like Elite PK, like you can choose, but just running around, maybe sign up to Arena. Stick with the ones that are going to be most beneficial to you. The Sage mode is pretty interesting. You have 49% chance to activate that when you're attacking people, and essentially, let me go ahead and we'll just teleport out to the Bird Island so I can show you guys what that looks like. They also, obviously, you guys probably aware, they buffed the XP skill, but their XP skill now gives movement speed, and this is Sage mode, so it gives you this lovely little flame trail. You get a little bit faster, and then it drastically increases the chance you have of activating your Ninpo passives. So all of these different skills typically have passives. You can read through those. Interesting. I have mixed feelings about them, because on one hand I'd say they're generally good for PvE, but they're all weaker than the ninja's base passive, which is obviously Fatal Spin. That does 240% damage. None of the passives do that much. They all do less than that, so it's kind of problematic if you're fighting somebody and you really need every little bit of damage. If you're only doing 215% damage instead of 240, that can be a problem. But in general, it's really good for PvE, and for the most part, if you're not, just wasting your time trying to kill a tank with a melee as a ninja, then you should be okay. It shouldn't matter that much to you anyway. Some of the things I would say that you're going to want to know, in the anniversary token that's going right now, this is how I got as many sigils as I have. So if you go to the privilege store, you can buy sigil blocks and advanced sigil blocks. Now I wouldn't recommend buying this because it's really expensive, honestly. Like, you don't need to spend 4K CPs for a sigil, especially once you have more than one of them, and you may just end up getting one that you already have. When you get a sigil that you already have, what happens is it decomposes and it becomes 10 essence. So 10 essence is nothing. You really don't want to spend 4K CPs and have the chance of getting only 10 essence out of that. That's pretty garbage. I did buy one of these. It says you can win Arcane Essences, Advanced Sigil Blocks, etc. When I opened it, I think I got Potency or something stupid. So you can mess around with these if you want. I'm not going to. This is primarily what I bought, just trying to fill out my skills and get all the sigils. Now the reason you want multiple sigils and getting all of those and getting them leveled up to at least level 3 is so that you can have a rank on your Ninpo score and the various elements. So your overall Ninpo score, you can see here, it gives me a breakdown of my fire, my water, my earth, my wind, my lightning, and your bloodline. There is no rank for bloodline, that's just going to go into your overall, but each of these individual elements has a separate ranking, and each of these separate rankings gives a dash bonus. I'm pretty sure people don't really know what that's about yet. They haven't discovered that so much. Essentially, if you read here, what that does is it gives me a 20% chance to increase non-critical damage by 25%. So it's like having a baby critical strike system built in, except for there's no way to mitigate it. So for me right now, I have the overall ranking. I have the overall ranking in each element, and each element gives 2% dash rate. So that means that I have 20% dash rate, which is the most you can get. I will probably lose that when people start figuring the system out and start taking some ranks on these, but for the time being, I have that. It's super helpful. If there's somebody out there that you're fighting that you don't kill necessarily with just normal damage, but you can't crit them consistently, this is going to be super helpful to you. If you don't have super high perfection, having the strike lock obviously is helpful. So with each of these ranks comes lovely little hats, and I'm wearing the fire one right now because it's funny to me. You look like a Hokage. Yeah, shout out to the fact that they straight up ripped all of these skills, everything about this out of Naruto. Pretty funny. Not sure if it's legal, but they launched this in China too, so I assume somehow it is. Pretty funny stuff. But just in general, you're going to want to get your rank up. I do not know what the other ranks give for dash rate. I'm assuming that it's the top 3 get dash, but I don't actually know. Probably like 10, 7, 5, or something like that. I'm not really sure. I have not been in any of those ranks, and I hope to not ever be in those ranks, so you'll have to find somebody who's lower to tell you. I do not know. But generally, this is where you want to be. Now, if you're overall number 1 rank, you get a lovely toad mount. So right now, I have my lovely little anniversary dragon that I wasted a shit ton of CPs on. And if I go ahead and click toad, it just becomes the toad. So this isn't an actual mount armor. You don't get it. It doesn't appear in your wardrobe. It's a cosmetic effect, which is pretty interesting. You can, if you have a tandem mount like this dragon, you can actually have somebody in the toad with you at the same time. Although there's not room and they just appear below you, it's pretty funny. This is just a little bonus that you get. Only the first rank in your server gets this mount. So just a random little bonus there. Now let's talk about Sage Mode a little bit more. Obviously, I said it's determined by the overall pluses of your sigils. This does not include the ones that are in your alternate. It does not include the ones that are in your bang crate over here. If you put lower plus ones in your alternate, it may affect your Sage Mode. I know I was having that issue. They may have patched that. All of mine are +3 now, so I don't actually have the ability to test that for you here. But that's something you're going to want to check out. You want to make sure that your high plus sigils that you're going to want to use forever, ideally, are the ones you're working on and that are in your main, because that's going to determine your Sage Mode phase. Now you can see here, phase 3 is pretty good. Before the patch, it was only like, I want to say 1,000 HP and like 200 P attack. So this is a significant improvement on that. Definitely buffed that up a little bit, which is good, because even with all of these skills, ninjas are still not the strongest class ever. Obviously, flat stat bonuses are awesome. Can't really complain about that. Sage Mode is kind of iffy in PvP. I've had some issues with autopot causing me to lag. So you can test that out if you want. If you're using a macro, I wouldn't recommend it at all. It only is going to help you, quote, help you in Sage Mode itself. So if you're lagging out, your Sage Mode is going to disable anyway, and you're going to die anyway as soon as that ticks off. It doesn't last for very long. I want to say it lasts for 6 or 7 seconds when you activate it, and it's not possible to refresh it while you're already in Sage Mode. So you cannot chain Sage Mode back to back, if that makes sense. Now phase 4 going to be a lot harder to get to. You can see here that puts you at a 51% chance to activate it for 10 seconds. Okay, so it says it's for 10 seconds, but when it pops up over here, it's shorter. So obviously the bonuses, again, flat bonuses are pretty nice. +4 and you get 2k HP, 500 P attack, like that's pretty solid. Not at the moment, it's not easy to get. At the moment, it is hard to get arcane essences. There's no way to for sure get them. The only thing you can do is your daily bounty hall quests. You're going to want to refresh these if you're a ninja. Not too much because it's expensive, but you are going to want to be doing these ones for arcane essence, and that is how every day you're going to get those essences. So you can get, you know, between 60, 80 in a day. With a little bit of luck, you can also get the flowers, these blood lotuses. You can get those from the bounty hall as well, and you can also get sigil fragments. Let's see. Nope, not the +8 stone. Nah. So you can also get these from those as well, and that is the free way that you're going to get more sigils. As far as what's available in the game right now, it's really limited. I wish there was a way to kind of grind it or to pay a little bit more reasonably, but at the moment that is not a thing. So this is kind of your only option right now. It is mentioned that they will be adding more features, more ways to get them, and including that kind of thing in events. At the moment, it's a lot harder than the Trojan Archive process, which if you did that, you will know that it's pretty easy to do with the little daily thing. So I would say comparatively, I would say it's not as OP as the Trojan Archive, just because that broke the game. And you still are not going to be amazing in PvE. Trojans are still going to absolutely dominate that. A lot of these skills themselves do really high monster damage, but at the end of the day, it's a skill. So you're limited on a cast and you're limited on a cooldown. It's not a melee that's just going to ramp up and destroy everything like you get with Trojan. So definitely a lot better than it was, but still not as good as Trojan in my opinion, as far as just being able to melee things, which is fine because ninjas are supposed to be casters anyway, but just know that if you go ninja, you're not going to be a melee machine. Honestly, I feel like it's less effective in PvP with melee than it used to be because you have a significantly less chance of activating your true passive, which does 240% damage, because you will have passives on all of these skills. So, with that being said, I may cut in some PvP footage here, I don't know. I'll show you guys what that looks like. Basically, you run around really fast and you cast stuff, and it's really helpful to have free cost skills. Like none of these abilities cost any skill, or any, there's no resource costs. There's no mana cost, there's no stamina costs. They are just free cast skills with cooldowns. Some of them are pretty low when you get them leveled and you have the support sigils for them. But at present, I would say I'm not disappointed with the update, but it took definitely a weirder approach than I was expecting, which maybe I should expect that now because it's TQ, nothing they do really makes sense. But anyway, I think definitely if you're a ninja and you can figure out how to make yourself not lag out because of this, which was a problem I had to do a fresh, clean install, fresh patches, all that good stuff. You're going to want to make sure that you're not overloading the server request. So if you're running a pop macro, do not use this. It's going to cause you to lag out. I lost my last event because of that. I was at like 16k ping. Do not use that. There's really no need. It's not going to help you any more than what you're already using. But if you're not using a macro, I would say by all means try it out, see what happens. But I am always using one, so it's not really helpful for me. It's actually causing me problems. So you're going to want to make sure if you're using this stuff that your client is very up to date. Obviously this stuff is really buggy if it's not, and I had to do a fresh wipe and install myself, so please make sure if you want to use any of this stuff that your client is good to go and you're able to auto patch. Do not manual patch. If you manual patch, you'll be missing some of that data. which is what I was experiencing. So definitely want to make sure you're able to do that. And just kind of wrap it up, I would say for sure, for like a critical strike build, you're going to want to get Wind Sigil with the Wind Shuriken, because what that's going to do is it's going to increase your critical strike by 2% for 8 seconds, and then, you know, at level 3 it's on like a 12-second cooldown, so you have most like 66% uptime on that, which is super cool. You can see here I cast, come back, boom, 2% crit for free, and it does decent damage as well on an AoE, and the passives were pretty sweet as well. Definitely recommend that skill. I definitely recommend, if you don't have anything in particular you're trying to use, the Sickle Sigil is super cool as far as being able to have a giant AoE that you can cast really far. That also hits aerial targets, really useful. Definitely going to be keeping that for the most part, I would say. And then my last one, and what I would recommend for you guys, if you're just straight up an attacker build, you're going to want Dust Attachment with the stun support. So I don't have that one, but you're going to want that one. You're going to want to have the ability to stun with your skills. Super useful, obviously. Don't really need to explain why that's OP, but definitely something you want to see. I've had very mixed experiences with some of these water ones, but I'm still missing 4 of the water sigils, and then 2 of the lightning, and 2 fire, and 3 earth. So definitely take a look at the website. I'm going to either put in the video or put in the description. That'll break down all of the different sigils. There's 6 for each of the elements, and then I believe there's 8 bloodlines, and the bloodlines are kind of weird. Let me try to show you the one that I have right now. So you have a 14% chance to trigger Hell Vortex when you're under attack, so every 5 seconds it'll hit the target within 2 spaces around to deal 30% damage, or 200% damage to monsters. So it'll do a knockback and a stun. You cannot attack a player if they are not knocked back and stunned. They're just going to sit there before they're able to move. So similar to the bomb after they patched that. So be mindful of that. I think it's useful-ish, but a lot of the bloodline ones are not. The only one that I really want to get is the Bone Crusher one, because it'll actually give you a passive damage bonus. So you can see I got that to trigger. I have this lovely little thing floating around me, and it's going to trigger again, and that's it. So, all in all, interesting system. They didn't release enough options as far as being able to grind it, in my opinion, but it is what it is. Overall, definitely puts Ninja in a better spot, even if it's just a lot of flat bonuses and free to cast skills. Super useful. If you have any questions as far as getting sigils, really the only way you can do that again is Bounty Haul, and then if you want to try to buy some from here, that is how you would go about doing that. At the moment, you will get some offers as you're going through the initial quest to unlock all of the gates. I don't remember where the price points were on those, but I'm pretty sure I got an advanced sigil pack for like 1400 CPs or so, and I got some other stuff with it. So I would definitely recommend, if you're actually serious about building your ninja sigil out with your Ninpo, for sure buy those packs. They're all pretty good as far as what you can buy otherwise, so definitely want to get those sigil packs, especially the advanced sigil pack. Super helpful. That's all I really got for you. I may end up putting PvP with this video, I don't know. I might just end up doing a separate video for that, but I'll see you guys later. Be safe, and as always, you can drop comment suggestions down below and let me know what you think and what you want to know. Later, guys.